Hi everyone, welcome back to my craft room. My name is Bethany if you are joining for the very first time. And if you're brand new, please be sure to subscribe. We have so many fun things that we're going to be doing this holiday season because Christmas is right around the corner, which means the craft room can get a little messy. Well, maybe not too messy, but we're going to get a little bit messy because we're going to be getting a lot of stuff done. A lot of inspiration is coming your way. For this video today, Kathy Zilski and I teamed up and we are going to do a little crafting together. I'm going to film on my channel, she's going to film on her channel, but we are going to take one craft supply. We are going to base both of our cards around this beautiful Christmas die. It says, "We wish you a Merry Christmas." It is so pretty. I love it so much. And we thought it would be fun to take one common craft supply and we're both going to just run with it and see where it takes us. So using this one die, I'm going to bring some other materials in that I have in my craft room, and I'm going to bring a fun little card for you together. After you're done watching this, I will link her channel so that you can go over and watch her video and you can see what ideas she has for this as well. We thought this would be really fun because this can really stretch your craft supplies if you see one little craft supply used a variety of ways. So everything that you see will be linked down in the description box below this video in case you're curious about any of the supplies I'm using or if you want to recreate this look yourself. I really hope you enjoy this video. Thank you so much, Kathy Zilski, for having so much fun with me. You know I adore you, and I think this is going to be really, really fun. All right, let's go ahead and get started crafting. I can't wait to show you my idea for this cute little card. Okay, so here is a closer look at the die that is going to inspire this card. It says, "We wish you a Merry Christmas," and it is just so cute. So I thought it would be really fun to use the Distress watercolor pencils, and I have set number 2. And as a reminder, everything that I'm using will be linked down in the description box below this video in case you want to take a closer look at any of the materials I'm using to bring this card together. So you can use watercolor paper, and I use watercolor paper quite often when using these, but for this project, I am going to start with a piece of 110-pound cardstock, and it works just fine when doing the watercolor pencils as well. I also have a little bit of water set off to the side, but what I really wanted to try was an Eclipse card, and I actually saw this on Kathy Zilski's channel, and I actually watched her do it live, and I feel like my jaw was just like dropped the entire time because I thought it was so neat, and I really have been wanting to try this technique as well, and I really thought that the design of this die really lent for a great opportunity to try out this technique. So I'll link the video that Kathy Zilski did doing her Eclipse card, but I'm really excited to try one of my own as well. So I'm going to go ahead and use the color, I believe this is Cracked Pistachio. Yes, it is. So I'm going to grab that color, and I'm actually only going to use one color to bring this to life. So I thought it would be really neat to do a monochromatic card, and I think this is going to just turn out really, really fun. So I do want to keep the die handy because I want to make sure that I am putting the paint, if you will, in a big enough area for the die to cover, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to kind of get an idea. It looks like I need roughly about 1/4 of an inch on the top and the bottom in order for the entire die to get covered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just the one color, and I'm going to begin just placing color along my cardstock. So I'm going to actually do a pretty bold pressure so I can get a lot of color on there, and I am going to apply it in the form of stripes, if you will. So I'm going to start in that kind of manner, and it's really neat because you have a lot of control over where the color goes once you use the pencil, right? Because you can just really control exactly where you want to place the color, which is really fun. So now I'm just going to take some water. I just have some water off to the side here, and I am going to just wet down my brush, and then once I run the brush over that pencil, it just becomes a watercolor, and it is so neat. And I love this color. I like a little bit more of a pastel and mint Christmas, if you will. So this is just lending itself beautifully to my style. So I'm just going to run a wet brush right over those lines. And then another great thing about this is if you do let this dry and you find that you want to bump up the color, you can come back in after these are dry and you can add more color with your watercolor pencil and then proceed to apply even more water down, which is really, really fun. And I've done that before too, where I just felt like I needed to bump up a color or two. And the thing about these watercolor pencils too is that you will get to know which colors go down really boldly the first time and which colors you need to kind of bump up a little bit. Okay, so I have these nice little stripes and I'm just going to kind of blow off all of the little dusty areas. And I got most of that, but it's kind of like the little shavings, if you will, right? But you can just kind of keep going over them with the water and they just become a watercolor. So it's so forgiving and so nice. So I'm just going to continue to go over any areas that kind of look like crumbs, if you will, right? And those are just naturally a little bit of the shavings that come off of the color pencil. Okay, and I really like how this looks. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some water and I am just going to kind of blend the colors together and bring just the lightest of lightest mint into that little white space that comes between the color, right? And again, if you want to bump up any color, you just can let this dry, bring back your colored pencil and add some more and just layer that color right back on. And then of course, bringing more water in areas to really mute it down. More water will help tone down the color. Less water will keep it a little bit more vibrant. And now I'm just going to simply put this off to the side and let it dry. So in the magic that is card making on video, I did one beforehand and this is how it turns out when dry. Now again, I did go back through on my stripes and I did add another layer of the cracked pistachio color. That way I could just get it to be the color that I want. And then referencing the size of my die, it's going to perfectly cover all of those areas. So I think this is really, really pretty. So the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to grab some tape and I am going to cut this out. And I also think I will trim this down a little bit as well. That way it's a little bit of a smaller panel. So I'm wondering which I should do first. I'm kind of thinking I should do the tree first. That way I can make sure that I get that distribution of color all throughout the design, and then I'll trim my panel down second. Okay, so I am just going to center this exactly how I'd like it. Just take a little bit of tape, and I also want to make sure, because I am going to be using this as my main panel for my card, so I really want to make sure that my alignment is just so, if that makes sense, right? So I think that looks good. I think it looks nice and straight, at least it does to me. Okay, and then I'm going to tape this down and I will run this through my Gemini Junior to get this all cut out. Okay, placing this between my plates and I am going to run this through. Okay, that ran through and now I want to make sure that I keep all of my little pieces. So let's see. Oh my goodness, it's going to be really, really neat. Okay, so I am going to take my little pokey tool and just make sure that I can keep all of the pieces intact, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this die. Actually, I can let a couple, oh, you know what? They're not even in there. They're on the back of my cutting plate. I was wondering where they disappeared to. Okay, so I'm just going to grab these and I'm going to place them where they go just to keep them all where they need to be. Keep everything organized for just a minute here. Okay, and then I do think we have this little cutie right in here. Okay, and being careful that I put it the right direction up. I think that's good. Okay, so I am just going to gently place this to the side. Oh, no, they all fell out, but that's okay. Okay, we'll just make sure that we have everything accounted for. That is actually the most important part. Now what I'll do is I'm going to take 2 additional pieces of 110-pound cardstock and I am going to cut them out with this die. Okay, and I'm using the 110-pound because I am going to end up stacking my dies. So I like to opt for a thicker cardstock. That way I don't have to use as many layers, if that makes sense. So I think I'll do 3 layers of the 110-pound, including my initial layer. And it doesn't matter where it is on this piece because we're just going to use the little cutouts or the little letters. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip this over and do one more time. Okay, so now I have all of my pieces all cut out, and I'm just going through and I'm going to punch out the pieces from my first layer. And if you're thinking this is very ambitious for an Eclipse card because of all of the little pieces I'm going to have to keep track of, I'm very much agreeing with you. But there are times, especially as a mama of 3, where I really do enjoy a more challenging technique and a little bit more of a lengthy process, because it really just gives me that opportunity to be still. And not very often am I given that opportunity. So I'm going to really just slow down and enjoy this. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my A2 layer die, and I think I'm going to just grab the second one in, and I will just do a light, yes, I think that's perfect. That is perfect. Okay, because I don't want it the exact same size as my card. I really like that little offset look. So I'm going to grab my tape once more, and then I will just trim down this panel just slightly, and I will run that through as well. So I just got that placed where I'd like it. I think that looks good. I might even put another tape right there just to make sure it stays put, and we'll run this last one through, and I think we'll be done with our die cutting. I like to get that all done at the same time. Okay. For some reason, when I do a trim down panel, this is one of my favorite parts, is revealing the panel all trimmed down. I don't know why. I think it's just, it makes it look so just fresh and complete. Oh, I do love that. I think the margin space is really pretty as well. I had so many ideas for this die. In fact, I was almost thinking of doing a shaker. In fact, I was really set on a shaker for quite a while. And you know, I really have to try this Eclipse technique. It's just so neat. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, I think what I'll do is place my panel on the card base. That way I can just build everything from the ground up. And I really have some time before I do that. In fact, why don't I just start gluing all my little pieces together? Okay, so I'm just going to use some of this Barely Art glue. I love it because it has a precision tip, as many glues do. And I really think this is going to come together so nicely. So I'm just going to start from the top down. So I'm going to keep probably the pieces in their places until it's their turn, if you will. So I'll start with the stars, and we'll just kind of go through and get everything placed all nice. And we're going to essentially just stack all of these one on top of the next. So I'll use my tweezers just to help me kind of get everything aligned. And oops, I need my other set because that is my sticky set of tweezers, and they stick together. So you can also use the spray glue as well, which probably would be a wonderful choice for this. I think I'll use the liquid, but go ahead and use whichever adhesive you would like best. So making sure that the colored piece is on top, our watercolor piece, and then we are just going to layer all 3 pieces together. Make sure they line up really nicely. And then, do you see how thick that's going to turn out? So 3 layers of 110-pound cardstock. You're essentially creating chipboard, and it's so pretty. Okay, so then what I'll do as I go is I'm just going to place them up and off to the side, if you will. Okay, so I'll grab my W's. So Kathy Zilski, I adore her. She is so fun. And I was trying to think back to how I stumbled across her channel, because my channel has really been more Cricut and sublimation and machine embroidery for a while now. When I first became a crafter back in my high school days is when my journey with crafting began. I was a scrapbooker. I started with scrapbooking. I started as a paper crafter, and I was recently telling this story in my Q&A of kind of how my crafting journey started. But I say this to say that I adore paper crafting, but I haven't done it for quite a while. And I stumbled on Kathy Zilski's channel because I recently had our third child, and backing up, my first two children, whoops, that wants to glue to my mat. My first two children were very good at sleeping in the morning. Oh, I'm getting glue everywhere. Sleeping in the morning, right? So, and when I say sleeping in, I mean 8 o'clock. And that's that as a mama, 8 o'clock is wonderful, right? So along comes my third child, my little baby boy, and we call him Farmer because he gets up between 5 and 5:30. And I am not very much of a morning person. I can be if it's just me getting up slowly and it's just me. But getting up early with little kiddos it's challenging. It's just a very early morning. So what I would do is, because everybody in the house was just still so asleep, I would bring my little iPad in and we would just sit on his floor and we would play blocks. And I, in the meantime, stumbled upon Kathy Zilski's channel one morning. And I'm not even sure how this came about, but I sat there crisscross applesauce on the nursery floor and, playing blocks with my little one, watched Kathy put these cards together. And I was hooked. And I just mean hooked. I started watching all of her videos. It just made me so excited because I hadn't done paper crafting in a long time. And cards for me wasn't, I never really considered doing cards. I mean, I did cards here and there with my Cricut machine and so on and so forth, and holiday cards every once in a while. And I love making my kids' own birthday invitations. P.S. I'm not going to make you watch me do each one of these letters, but I thought this would be a time to slow down and just chit chat for a second. So knowing all of this, cards were pretty foreign to me, especially the stamping aspect and the die cutting aspect. I had no idea. And I've spoken to this on my channel before that I really, really love to learn new things. I find it so refreshing and I find it so just rewarding and encouraging. And I am one of those people and crafters that I just never want to stop learning. I want to learn all the things I can learn. I continuously want to learn new things, and I find that just so beautiful. So when I came across Kathy Zilski's channel and just fell in love with everything she did, how she taught, and how how she was so funny. She's so funny. I love listening to her. It just encouraged me that this is the next thing I need to try. This is the next thing that I need to bring to my own channel and bring to my own craft space, because just watching her have so much fun with it, I knew that this was something that I definitely could get passionate about as well. And I was right. This is so, so fun. I'm so grateful that I stumbled upon her channel and was encouraged to give this a try. And now I am lucky enough, I can't believe it, pinch me, I'm lucky enough that I can call her a friend, and she's such a good friend. P.S. Kathy, are you excited that I'm trying this Eclipse card? A little ambitious with all these pieces, but I'm thinking it's going to come together nicely, and I cannot even wait to see what she's doing. So after this video, then head on to her channel and let's see what she does. It's going to be gorgeous. I just know it. Okay, I'm going to continue layering all of these little pieces. Yes, meticulous as it is, but you know what? I really do appreciate a time to really do some focused, slow work, because it does this mama's heart just good sometimes to just really slow and be. Okay, so definitely not a card that you want to mass produce, but if you need a card to just have fun with while you watch Gilmore Girls, then this, honey, is your card. I think this is going to be so fun in the end, but you pour your little heart into it. Okay, I'm going to stack my last little piece, and this is the trunk which makes up this little bottom part. So cute. Then I'm going to give my mat a quick little TLC with a baby wipe because we have glue every which way. And we're going to assemble this card. So I am going to grab some 110-pound cardstock for my base of my card. We'll get that all ready to go, and then we can really start placing these pieces within our panel to create the Eclipse card. Now, you'll notice I have some random little stragglers around here. Those are the inside pieces from the original panel, such as the O, the A, all those little, R pieces, those tiny insides. I believe I hung on to all of them. So we shall see, but it's time to really bring this together. Okay, I do want to make a top folding card. So I have a piece of 110-pound cardstock cut in half here, measuring 11 by 4 1/4. So I'm just going to place this right into my score buddy, and I will score this right at 5.5 because that is half of our 11-inch length. And then we will have our A2 size card, which in the end measures at 4 1/4 by 5.5. Press that down really nicely, and then I like to just open up my card, and again, top folding card here, right? I'm going to open this up, and I just like to place my magnet right on here, and I'm going to try to center this as best as I can. That looks good. But I have all my little pieces here. Now, what I want to do here is bring my panel in, but I want my panel to be placed on my card base. I really, again, want to build this from the ground up. And how cute would that be too? This die, everybody just run and grab this really quickly. There are so many fun things that you can do with this. And I just think, honestly, I feel like I could create about 5 cards with this, all looking completely different. This is just wonderful. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some foam adhesive, and I think I'm going to grab a full sheet, and I'll show you why in a minute. Okay, so I have these A2 size foam sheets. They are double adhesive, right? 1 and 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this down a little bit because remember, my panel is trimmed to be slightly smaller than A2 size. So I want this to also match. So let me trim this down, and I'm simply going to take some scissors and just take a little bit off of each side. And then I'll hold it up to my panel, always keeping my scraps because you can do so many things with these. Let's see how I did. That looks great. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's turn this over and let's take off one layer. Let's line this up. And this is also going to help because you can see I even placed this in a book and let this, really settle for a while, but it's still pretty warped from the watercolor, which is fine. But when you put an entire panel of adhesive on the back, that is going to straighten that out in a heartbeat. Okay. Okay, look how flat that is now because I used that full sheet. It's so nice and flat. Plus now I have some sticky in there, and I'm still going to use some liquid glue, but now I have some sticky to kind of help all of these pieces stay put. So now I'm going to take off the back and then reveal the additional side of adhesive. Again, that's double-sided. And then I'm simply going to center and press down. I think the full sheet of adhesive was the winning choice here because even when you use watercolor cardstock, you can get, a little bit of bowing. And again, I even put mine in a book, and it's still, for half a day really, and it still was acting a little bit wonky. So I love how that looks. I think that looks really sleek. Okay, another idea though is if you didn't want to do the Eclipse card where you keep the original pieces and place them back in, you can also cut your pieces out of a different color too, which would be really fun. So now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to place some glue right in here, and then we're going to place all of our little, and I think I'll go, a few lines at a time. But then we'll place our little pieces in, and I think what I'll use is I'm going to use my little sequins picker-upper tool. Oops, not that side, this side. And I think that this is going to work beautifully for placing all these pieces. Now, what you want to make sure is that, you know, your pieces are right side up. So you want to make sure that you kind of match all of your little tones, right? Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so cute. And make sure that all of your brush strokes are going the same way. It'll obviously be a lot easier for letters, but things like S's, you know, where they could go any direction in, or I's, you want to make sure they're the right direction up. Oh, this is so cool. Okay, so I'm just going to go through and place these all in, and then we will be all done. Now I can take the other side and really just guide that in. There we go. And what's great is your initial panel is your template. And then it just looks like these little pieces are just coming up and out of the paper, which is so neat. Now, remember those original little pieces, we do want to bring those in to fill in. And again, those were just that one layer. So we have the middle of the O, and then we have the little middle of the A that are just going to fill in there. Okay, so now I can put my pieces in, and I will just continue going through, again, making sure I put them in the right direction, especially things like O's. And I'll fill this all in, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, the last piece just went in. Oh my goodness. Oh, nope, I lied, because we had this little tiny insert to the middle of the A, and oh my goodness, I am so darn proud of myself for so many reasons, but I think the main reason is because I kept all those little tiny inside pieces and nothing was lost during the creation of this cute little card. Isn't this neat? Okay, let me hold it up so you can take a look at that eclipse effect that we get from stacking those together and then placing them right back in an inlay. Okay, look how neat this is. How fun. Because when you look at it straight on, well, in person, when you look at it straight on, you can absolutely see the dimension, and you can see it there when I show you. But it just looks so neat. I love it. It's the same tones. That's why I kind of wanted to do more of a stripe look, because I think it makes it look a little bit more like interesting, right? Like, how did they do that when it feels like the letters are just kind of being embossed, if you will? Would it be embossed? I think it would be embossed out of the page. I just think that is so, so neat. I'm debating adding a little bit of sparkle to this. So let me pull some options and we'll see if we want to or if not. And I think there is one little U here that I just need to kind of pull to the side a little bit. There we go. Okay. I'm kind of liking the idea. I pulled some sequins by Spellbinders, and you know, Kathy inspires me in so many ways, but she definitely inspires me with this kind of little swoopy trio at the end that I think could be really, really fun for this card. And I think because it's so monochromatic, beautifully monochromatic, I think it would be fun just to kind of add just a little something something at the end, just to bring a little just twinkle and merriment, right? I just think it would be fun. So skip this part if maybe this isn't the look you're going for, but I kind of think that this is really, really fun. Okay, so this is the final layout that I decided on. I really like the idea of it kind of just swirling down the tree, if you will. I just think it brings a little bit of whimsy to it. So I'm going to go ahead and make that my final answer with some liquid glue, and we will be all done with this card. I hope you enjoyed this. This was so fun. I've been wanting to try an Eclipse card. Is it Ellipse or Eclipse? Have I been calling it wrong the whole time? Well, if not, I hope you find it endearing because, or if so, I hope you find it endearing because, I mean well, I promise. But I think this is so neat. And you know, when you just have been wanting to try something for so long, and I don't know, it's just so fun to finally have a little check mark by that little wish list, right? I love that. Okay, I think that that's how I wanted that. And then right down here, again, I really liked that swirl kind of just cascading from the top to the bottom, and it kind of all flowed together, though they respectfully stand on their own as well. I adore it. I think this is so fun. Again, not a card that you would want to mass produce at all, but if you need a little time to just be and just be still, then this is going to be a fun little technique for you to try. I hope you enjoyed this so much. I really enjoyed bringing this together. I'm very inspired by this beautiful die. Again, everything that I used will be linked in the description box below this video, just in case you want to take a closer look at anything that was on my craft table, or if you want to gather some supplies and recreate this look yourself. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you stopped by from Kathy's video and her channel, welcome, and I'm so happy to have you here. Please be sure to subscribe if you want to stick around and see what will be coming to my craft table next. And as always, I'll see you all in the next video.